In the valley of Rabinal, surrounded by the sound of the original tune, in the land of the Mayan Achí, we are mesmerized to this day by the representation of the pre-Hispanic literary masterpiece, Rabinal Achí. This theatrical piece is a representation of historical events of the Mayan pre-Hispanic society in the post-classic period, dating from the year 900 to the year 1524. The Mayan culture develops a series of artistic expressions with a great splendor that include dance, theater, music, and literature. It is impressive to find that even today, this play is still celebrated in the northwestern region of Guatemala, in the city of Rabinal, in Baja Verapaz. And it all happens year after year, during the town's festivities, honoring St. Paul and St. Peter from January the 12th to the 25th. Its original name is the dance of Xajoj Tun, and it survived the colonization in a clandestine way from 1625 to 1856, date in which there is proof of its first presentation, thanks to the French abbot Brasseur de Bourbon, to whom Bartolo Sis dictated it. Bartolo Sis inherited it as member of one of the most important families in Rabinal. The Brasseur translated it into French and published it with the name of Rabinal Achí. For the inhabitants of Rabinal, the majority of them being Mayan Achí, the dance is a sacred ceremony which celebrates and summons the energy of their ancestors, the kings of the fortress of K'icheʼ, the actual archaeological site in which the historical events the play narrates took place. The sacred character of the play takes us through the performance of a series of 9 ceremonies before and after its representation, with the purpose first of asking permission and after thanking their ancestors for their help in its successful performance. The Rabinal Achí is a story about how the tribe of the Rabinaleb rebel and separate from the political confederation of the K'iche'ës, who dominate the region, as these try to conquer the valley of Rabinal. In the play, divided in 4 acts, the K'iche'ë warrior is captured by the Rabinaleb warrior in the outskirts of K'iche'ë, whose king is Xajoj. The K'iche'ë warrior is judged, and since he does not submit to the enemy's court, as the only way to pardon him for the crimes for which he is being accused, he is sentenced to death. Before being executed, K'iche'ë Achí asks for the ceremonial drink of the Rabinaleb. He also asks to dance with the princess of the K'iche'ë, and 260 days to go say goodbye to his people. Granted all the wishes, the warrior is sacrificed by the eagle warriors and the jaguar warriors, led by Rabinal Achí, tying him to a tree, around which they dance while they shoot arrows at him. The Rabinal Achí is the only genuine pre-Columbian testimony that survives, intact, in all of America. Its script has neither suffered any alteration of ideas, nor had any incorporation of phrases of European origin, not even through the modern Achí language, during the 800 years that it has been represented. The play is narrated nowadays using the post-classic Mayan language. Additionally, the play reflects a real historical event and the political structure of its age, as well as a series of mythological contents typical of the region that have been preserved in the spirituality of the inhabitants of Rabinal. The continuity of conceptions and traditions of pre-Columbian past manifest themselves in the representation of the play. Scholars of the Rabinal Achí have identified that in the images of St. Paul and St. Peter, the Rabinaleb secretly venerated their old deities, Tohil, god of the offerings and fire, and Mam, the old god of the earth. The proofs are found on the robe of the image of St. Paul in Rabinal, on which you can see the figures of the Mexican sign for Atl, whose equivalent in the sacred Mayan calendar of 260 days is Toj, the day to pay debts before the God of the world and before the ancestors. He is also identified for bearing a sword that symbolizes the Huntihaks, the blade made out of flintstone of the god Tohil. On the other hand, the image of Saint Peter is known by the local people as that of an old man, which coincides with the characteristics of Mam, the old god of the earth. The cofradías of St. Paul and St. Peter are today the most important socio-religious organizations of Rabinal, and it is with its help that the different presentations of the Rabinal Achí are organized during St. Paul's festivities. The generalized poverty of the inhabitants of Rabinal does not stimulate the incorporation of new dancers to the group, because their admittance implies great sacrifice of time and economic resources for the dancers. Although the Rabinal Achí is a very ingrained tradition, the social changes are progressively affecting the preservation of the play. On one hand, the interest on watching the drama is being lost by the younger ones, partly influenced by the little knowledge they have of it, added to a slow loss of the Achí language, which is the cause why many today don't even understand the argument. Finally, the growing religious conversion of the inhabitants to certain churches, who stand against the expressions of traditional indigenous religions, don't stimulate the incorporation of new dancers. The Ministry of Culture and Sports of Guatemala will support the fulfillment of the action plan for safekeeping and spreading of the play through an interinstitutional coordination represented by the dance group, Gobernación Departamental, the local City Hall of Rabinal, research centers, specialized institutions of the Universities of San Carlos de Guatemala and Rafael Landívar, and the Academy for Mayan Languages of Guatemala. Among the main actions, we could mention the advice for the dance group to achieve its legalization within the context of the respect precepts of the common law, which will allow the group to receive and manage the funds destined to the implementation of the play. Within the plan, there is also a project for the archaeological restoration of K'icheʼ, the emission of a post stamp whose funds would go to the group, and those actions that promote the involvement of the ecclesiastic authorities through campaigns of awareness and tolerance towards socio-religious expressions that, like the Rabinal Achí, constitute a cultural patrimony. A live museum will be established, housing a dance studio, and for this purpose, the City Hall of Rabinal has already assigned a space. The plan also intends to include the Rabinal Achí in the pensum of all educational levels, with an emphasis in the municipalities of Achí language and the organization of congresses dedicated to the study of the play by the specialists. And in this way, finally, the candidacy of the Rabinal Achí to the UNESCO as a universal cultural patrimony to mankind will become a solid reality, so that our children and their children and the generations to come will have the opportunity to enjoy this wonderful pre-Hispanic masterpiece that has miraculously survived for centuries